Welcome to our Power Users webinar. This is the first in a new series that we're starting this year to help our users get a deep dive into tools that are super helpful. This month we're going to cover what was new in 22 rather than cover a specific deep dive. We're starting with the EPUB. As of 2022, EPUB is now available on the Mac. Previously, it was only available on the PC. We also have the ability to create audio files. This is something new that you previously could only do in a PDF. If you can use your cursor to highlight a word, you can also use some of the reference tools. For example, the dictionary, the syllables, the magnifier, and the translation. Next is the PC. A big change here is the improvements to the find and replace option. This is in the edit menu. Once you have opened up a document, you can find text or you can replace text. You can also find an object, which would be a bookmark, a note, a voice note, or a highlight. In addition, the picture dictionary has updated and enhanced images, so you have more in the picture dictionary to use. Next up is the Mac. As mentioned, one of the big changes to the Mac over the last year was the adding of EPUB handling. Another large change was to the Universal Library. Its user friendliness, shall we say. In the past, when I have gone to open a document from or save one to the Universal Library, or we could say upload or download to and from the library, on really large documents, it would just pause while it was processing. Because there was no progress bar, it might look like the system had frozen up. Some people would restart their system and then have to restart the upload when in fact it was continuing. There was just no indication. So we've made some improvements to this. The first one is the work was moved to the background. What that means is once I've started it, I can go back into Kurzweil 3000 and work on something else, or I can upload multiple documents at a time. I can start one and then go to the next. Also, uploading and downloading was made simultaneously. So if I need to upload a document and download or open one from the library at the same time, I can have both going. To keep it clear what is going on, we've added a progress bar. Here you can see there's both an upload and a download going, and you can see when they're processing and when they're done, you can just come back to them. With single sign-on, it's not so much of a new feature as it is an improvement. As we implement more single sign-ons, and we have a lot of schools starting to use it, we become better at what we're doing, add some more tricks, some more tools, and so the implementations become smoother and easier. With single sign-on, because we have to match each school setup, and each school setup is different, each setup is a custom experience. So unfortunately, at least for the foreseeable future, there's no way to say, hey, turn on that feature for me. We have to work with your IT and get it going, but a lot of schools are finding great value in it. So if you're interested, reach out to us for some more information. In Kurzweil3000.com, we also have a number of improvements. The first one is the extraction of bookmarks from PDFs. In the past, when a document was opened, the bookmarks were lost. With the improvement, we can now keep a number of those bookmarks, if not all of them, and auto bookmark your document for you in KEZI format, saving you a lot of time. Generally speaking, when we receive a PDF, it's just a blank image document. It's like a whole bunch of photos. So we've used OCR or optical character recognition software to pull the text out of those PDFs. You're all very familiar with that if you've used Kurzweil for a while. Now, as we're getting better documents from the publisher, quite often they're actually including the text data in the document, like a word processing document. So we can keep that and use that. The option is now available to pick either OCR or remediated text processing options, and we'll go through that in just a moment. This last one here, change reading unit and reading word highlight colors, was actually published this month in early February, but it's a real quick, cool tool. So I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. The final section is the browser extension. In 2022, we added support for Edge browser. It is still available in Chrome and Mozilla. We've added a Remember Me button to keep the login smooth and fast. The browser extension can now also read text in input and in text fields. And highlighters have been added to the browser extension and can pull stuff from the web into Kurzweil. I have this little image here because I have found that when I am recording, the software fights with the browser extension and sometimes blocks the pop-up. So in the interactive mode, or once I've selected what I want to highlight, the colors will pop up in a little box, just like this, and then I pick the color I want. Because of the recording software, it's fighting with me, but I'll go ahead and show you the best I can. Let's take a look. Here I am in Kurzweil3000.com. In order to do the PDF settings, I'm going to go into My Account and Settings. You can think of that as PDF settings. The default is what we've always had, just OCR processing, but I can now choose Enable Remediated Processing. If I do that, I can pick Emphasize Embedded Text, which is where I have the data from the publisher, or some schools will use Adobe Acrobat to pull the text out of their documents. We use the same Abby Fine Reader as Adobe Acrobat, so you don't have to do it twice. If you've already done it in Adobe, that's fine. You can now keep that with the embedded text option. If you haven't, you just choose the OCR option. You can still select the page range and divide it by chapter or section if you want to. Let's switch it back here to emphasize OCR results so we can look at this third option, the OCR language. If I have a document that is primarily an English document, but has a lot of foreign words, maybe I have a text on South America, and so it's got a lot of Spanish words, that might confuse the system, and it might go, oh, it's a Spanish-English text, and start recording this text in Spanish voices. If the paragraph starts with a Spanish word, it'll choose Spanish. If it starts with an English word, it'll choose English, and it will switch back and forth, which can get really confusing. So what we can do now is say, no, this is an English-only text. It has Spanish words in it, but it's an English text, and that will limit the dictionary to English only. A nice enhancement that comes to us as Abby Fine Reader is available in many languages. We have the ability now to say, pick this one language, Abby. So if I have a European text, I could do the same, a European language text. The two down here at the bottom, you might look and go, wait, those are not languages. We have mathematical and chemistry. And you're right, they're not languages, but it gives me the ability to say, hey, this is a chemistry text. Use the additional chemistry dictionary, and it will help with the funky symbols and words and abbreviations and things in chemistry, or the same thing in math. Once I have made my selections the way I want it to be, I'm going to update it. It verifies it's been updated. Now this is going to stay until I come back and change it. If I never change it, everything is going to be processed as non-remediated documents. Vice versa, if I have it set to emphasize embedded text, I save that and I upload a document that doesn't have any embedded text. When I open it, it's just going to sit there and look at me like, what are you trying to do? If that happens, I have a workaround. The workaround is I go to the Universal Library and I go and I find that document. Say it's this wind document right here. What I would do is I would select it and delete it from the library, and then I would re-upload the document. Before I open the document, whether it's before I upload it or after, but before I open it, I have to go to the settings, make sure the settings are updated, and then I go back to the Universal Library and I open it for the first time, because that's when all the magic happens, is when I open it for the first time. Now this is a math document that I wrote up just using Microsoft Word. I want to show you the enhancements. It's going to read most of these symbols, and then some of the limitations as it gets into more complex materials. Let's go ahead and listen to this.
1. Square root 9. 2. Plus minus sine infinity equals not equal to tilde times divided by. and less than much less than greater than much greater than less than or equal to greater than or equal to plus less than or equal to almost equal to identical to for all. 3. See partial differential V27 V16 union and percent degrees Fahrenheit degrees Celsius increment V3. There does not exist element of 3 dash up arrow. 4. Right arrow L4 lambda plus a beta y delta epsilon euro theta 9 UTP sigma T. 5. 5/3. 6. 2 and 5/8. 7. 1,234,584,215. 8. 0.12542. 9. 1,235.21515. 10. Manually typed 3 seconds x6, 2. 11. Excel format 3 circumflex 2. Word equation writer. 12. 9 divided by 3 equals 13. 3 seconds times 6, 2. 14. X plus a n n. Broken vertical bar z.con tilde k.
The processing was much better than we've seen in the past. It did get this square root correct. You might have noticed though the third root and fourth root, it read as a V. It didn't get all the symbols, but it did get most of them. And it read the fractions much better. I really liked that it parsed my number and told me billions, millions, and thousands. Also, as we get more complex, in the manually typed, it did not read the parentheses, and it read S as seconds. I guess I have that set in there somewhere. The exponent was only read as a 2, so it's not going to read it perfectly. You may still want to go into the underlying text and edit so it reads exactly like you want it to. But depending on the format of your document, it might read it pretty well. It did read the Excel format as it would in Excel. It read this very nicely. Using the equation writer or just manually writing in Word made no difference. And you saw in this equation, it read all the letters pretty good. It read the sigma, it read the N and the K, and then it stopped. So it is definitely an enhanced math reader. It is not yet a full math reader, but we're making progress and we'll continue to work on that as we move along. Let's move on to the next feature in Kurzweil3000.com, and that is the ability to edit the reading word and the reading unit colors. Okay, I think I have this set to the default of light blue and light green. So let's take a look at it here.
Wins environmental record.
Now, if that color combination doesn't work well for me, I have new options. In the past, I could check just the background color, but now I can change both the word color and the unit color, so the line or the paragraph. It gives me a preview. If I'm using dark highlights, I can change the text to white. Let's look what this is.
Wind power has some of the lowest environmental impacts of any source of electricity generation.
So those are the two big features for Kurzweil3000.com. Let's switch over to the browser extension. This tool is just getting used more and more all the time. In here, I'm in Canvas. I have an announcement. It was written in a text box, and I need to be able to read it. So first I have to log in. I'm going to put in my username and my password, and then I can click on the Remember Me button. Now, whether I click this before or after I type my information doesn't matter. I just need to make sure I click it before I click Log In. Once I have done that, if I close the browser extension or the entire browser, the next time I reopen it, it will log me in automatically as long as I do not click Log Out. Log Out will obviously trump Remember Me. I am going to put my cursor here in the box and click Read.
Reminder to have reading done by Wednesday.
It gives me the ability to read something that is embedded deeper into a website. If I had made a reply, I can type my reply, I can post it, and then I can click on the reply in that box and read it as well. The intention is to really make sure that if I'm taking a test, I can proofread my answer and make sure I've written exactly what I want so that I don't have an error in my dictation or my typing when I knew the right answer. A highlight tool, let's look at that. I'm going to click on it and click show. That activates it, and you can see I've already got some highlights done here. To do a highlight, I simply click the color I want and do my selection. In this mode, the pen matches the color of the highlight. I just go along. If I'm doing the same color over and over, that's really easy. If I'm switching colors a lot, it's not quite so easy. And that's where the interactive mode comes in. I click the interactive mode. You see I now have a gray marker. I do my selection. And this is where the recording software is fighting with me, not giving that little box I showed you in the PowerPoint. If I want to get rid of a highlight, I can just hover over it and click on the box. Or if I am not in interactive mode, I click on the eraser. When I am done, I can click back to the select tool, and that will put me back into a regular cursor. So I can do whatever else I need to on the website. Nice feature of this is also brings the two tools of Kurzweil together, the browser extension and the web extension, the two web tools. I can extract this to a study guide that comes in an outline format, or I can extract it into column notes. These column notes are the ones we're used to with Kurzweil3000.com because it pulled it and dumped them in there. I can hide columns so I can study. I can extract to a outline in Kezi format, so I can edit it. I can change it to a brainstorm, and I can use this button to make it nice and clean. When I'm ready, I can split my screen, keep my outline on my left, and start typing or dictating on the right. So a lot of nice things come from that highlight tool as it brings the web and my readings together. When I'm all done, I can either delete the highlights or I can just hide them. This is stored on my computer's cache. So if I am on, say, Canvas, and I make highlights and then Sally logs in to the same document, she will not be able to see my work. It's independent for each student. Now let's jump back into the slideshow. And again, here's that box that won't pop up when I'm recording that I can do my highlight and then pick my colors. And it just moves along with me as I select my area. Next month, we're going to look at Read the Web and your learning management system that will be demonstrated using Canvas. It will also be on a Tuesday. It'll be March 21st at 2 p.m. and the invitation will be coming out to you to register for that in a little bit. If you are not a regular contact with Kurzweil, maybe you're part of the student training or something like that, and you're not the primary contact, and you have any questions about what we showed today, you'd like to meet with your rep and have a longer, more in-depth webinar, maybe some catch up on some new tools, feel free to reach out to us. This is a list of the states, if you're in the United States, where each of your reps covers. If you're in Canada or Europe, we have those contacts as well. Finally, if you are in Maryland or any other location, reach out to Will Skills and he will direct you to the correct contact. As always, we also have customer service at kurzweiledu.com. And thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found this training helpful, a nice review of what was new in 22, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Take care.